Hello there. I think this one is going to be so ridiculous as to be humorous, though. If I told you that there is a Russian leader of, let's say, a group of fans of the 1930 Germans that gave an interview, you can find it on YouTube. I'm afraid I cannot understand any of this, but if you are Russian speaking, then by all means check it out. And we have a bit of a translation from RT. And this guy says that nuclear war would be good for Ukraine. Ukrainians are best prepared for the end of civilization thanks to a popular video game, Evgeny Karas has said. I kid you not. So he says here Ukraine would benefit from being targeted by a Russian nuclear strike, which is why Moscow will never undertake such a step, a notorious far-right activist and head of a hate group has claimed. Now, is he far-right? Is he a hate group leader? Probably. This is from Samira Khan, Azov, that's the Azov battalion that I guess these guys are backing. Pagan ritual / worship, blood offering to god Perun. I can't show you because, well, sensitive content. But again, you can just go. This is from their official YouTube channel. You can find the link on her X post here. And people were saying basically that I have doubts this is legit, it's wartime. And she answered, are you joking? The source is in the thread, as of official channel. So you can go and you watch this yourself and see what these guys are all about. I believe that they are what they are described as this time around. The rule of thumb is, honestly, if the mainstream media accuses someone of being far-right fans of the 1930 Germans or whatever else, that means nothing. What you should do is you should watch them for yourself and make up your own mind. Anyway, so this prominent Ukrainian bad guy, Evgeny Karas, said he would welcome a nuclear escalation in the Ukraine conflict in an interview on Tuesday with Ukrainian broadcaster Radio Bayraktar. Karas is leader of the S14 far-right group, whose members have a record of harassing minorities and have been accused of high-profile political ending people. Nuclear war is good, he told the station, named after a Turkish-made attack drone. When it happens, we'll have no more reasons to whine. See, you don't have it bad enough. If you had it really bad, you wouldn't be whining like this. If you were under nuclear assault, you wouldn't be whining over merely being in war with Russia. This guy has so much empathy, and very good standards too. It says here, nothing worse could happen after a nuclear strike. At least that statement might be true. Countries like India and China would turn against Moscow, Karas argued, adding that nuclear fallout in Ukraine may even be good for evolution. A nuclear war may help us evolve in a way that we could see through an official and tell whether he's a thief or not. So being bombed with a nuclear bomb is going to make you superhuman, and then you can understand whether someone's lying or not just by looking at them. I didn't know the Japanese that experienced that had such a power. I'm surprised with such advanced mental powers they didn't take over the world. But I guess maybe he just believes that the Japanese failed to evolve properly because they weren't white enough or something. So, Karas claimed that the November release of the video game Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, which was developed in Ukraine, has prepared the country for a nuclear war. The country will come through a nuclear crisis and make a leap forward in technology, producing artificial intelligence and advanced robots, Karas believes. I see. If only we were struck by a nuke, then we could become superhumans, have advanced AI, our intelligence will just go off the scale. This guy is honestly deranged. It's the point where it's not even worth being mad about. It's just so bad it's funny, I guess. I mean, I suppose if you are living there and this guy actually has some power over the local fighting force, then it might be very, very sad instead. At least for me, as a bystander, what he says is so ridiculous, so out there, so insane that I can't help but laugh. Honestly, it's just can you find me a more ridiculous figure, a more ridiculous speech in living memory than being nuked is good? It's going to make us evolve and we'll flourish. Anyway, the remarks were part of his dismissal of Russia's new hypersonic ballistic missile, Oreshnik, which he called poorly named and not really scary. Russia demonstrated Oreshnik's capability in late November in response to Ukraine's use of long-range Western-donated weapons for strikes deep inside its territory. It fired a non-nuclear version of the medium-range missile at a Soviet-built arms factory in the city of Dnipro, Ukraine. You know, groups like his being allowed to not just operate, but even getting a lot of help, support, donations from Western governments kind of makes me wonder how exactly people reach the conclusion that, how to put it, the people behind all the bad stuff are Jews. You know, everybody's looking for who's directing things behind the scenes, because let's be honest, it's gone beyond conspiracy theories at this point. If you are critical of the establishment, and honestly, the establishment is basically a global force at this point. It says the same things, use the same passwords. You have leaders all across the world talking about George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, the Western world, I mean. Having pride parades and pride months. Essentially, they espouse the same values, use the same speech figures, and they're just part of the same group. It's obvious. So if you trust the global institutions, then you're on the left. If not, well, then maybe you're probably on the right. There are some left-wing populists too, but anyway. So if you're looking for whoever's directing the invisible hand directing this global institution, a lot of people point to Jews. And then I ask myself why. Well, they say because you should just look at who you're not allowed to criticize. That's who your enemy is. And maybe it's true that it's probably true that for a straight white man, being able to criticize Jews is questionable on social media. On the other hand, if you pretended to identify as a Muslim or a black person and tried the same thing, I think you'd have a much, much easier time. Who is it that truly is beyond criticism? Some people would say women, but honestly, we've seen a lot of trans people outright saying that they want to hit or even end them, and they get away with it, so no. You could say that it's the gays, but I don't think it's the gays either, because when the groomer was a pejorative that the institutions were very mad about, then gays against groomers was a thing, and they were banned. So I think that they are not it either. I think it is the group that they were banned to defend, that is the bad guys. If you notice, I believe I saw years ago a video by Paul Joseph Watson about the prevalence of people of certain dispositions in the leadership of pretty much all Western democracies. And then, of course, there were the Epstein files and such. Now there's the P. Diddy scandal. It seems as though a certain people of a certain disposition that like kids in a way that you and I probably don't approve of. Yeah, these guys, they seem to be the ones above reproach that you really are not allowed to criticize. In fact, you're not even allowed to mention them at all in YouTube. So I wonder just how much more evidence you need in order to start looking in a direction instead of at the people that right now you can say whatever you want against them so long as you're a lefty on, let's say, college campus. It's very, very politically correct right now to hate on my country of Israel. Like I said, it's also very good to donate to the fans of 1930s Germany in Ukraine at the moment. Yeah, I don't want to make it anyway about my country right now. I wanted more to talk about just how crazy the situation in Ukraine is and how laughable it is. And yet, Western leaders just keep giving more. I occasionally watch the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and they keep talking about, oh yes, our Labour government just promised more aid to Ukraine. And they promised that the aid for Ukraine will never end so long as it's needed. They're just committing to give more and more and more every year. And they don't even care what happens to this stuff. They give them money, they give them weapons, they give them money and ammunitions, and then they can't account for what happened to any of that aid. It's like, what did you do with it? What did you accomplish with it? Well, who knows? A lot of it just gets lost somewhere, and there's no accounting of it. And not to mention that a lot of the guys that they're backing are very bad guys. I'm sorry, just the fact that the current president, Vladimir Zelensky, decided to award the highest national honor to a soldier who was, fan of the 1930s German. That was, I believe, shortly before the conflict or just after it started. And yeah, it's... On the other hand, perhaps it's no surprise considering, I believe it was the Trudeau government, was it? That hosted a soldier that fought against the Russians in World War II. And then, no, look, he was one of those 1930s Germans. What a humiliating mistake. I don't know if it's a mistake. I honestly think it's the, they may well be ideologically aligned in many ways. I mean, I think that the Germans I just talked about would have been very appreciative of, things like MAID programs, for example. They were eugenicists after all, so ideas like that are right up their alley. And in fact, I think the entire sort of global establishment really reeks of eugenicist ideology. And well, I think that anyone saying that being nuked is a good thing because it drives evolution probably is a eugenicist to some degree, to a very great degree, too. I just can't get over how we make the same mistakes over and over and over as a society. Just when will we learn that these are the bad guys and we should reject them? It felt as though there was a great deal of resistance to anything that smacks of that sort of ideology, 10, 20 years ago. But nowadays, they basically call everything 1930s German thing. And that's basically what the internet devolves to, right? Every left-wing name-calling devolves to. You're a fascist, you're a racist, you're one of those German guys. And basically, they made it so hollow a term that people don't even remember what it means. And this is why they can act like fascists and claim others are fascists. They can be eugenicists and claim others are the 1930s Germans. And this is a very interesting trick where you basically attribute to the opposition the things that people from your side of the aisle have done in the past in order to destroy their name and cast off of you the stigma that rightfully should have been attached to what you're proposing. And this is, in my opinion, how we got to where we got. People are very on guard against the wrong thing. They're very on guard against the idea of nationalism. What? You like your own country? You like your own people? You're loyal to them? You want what's best for them? How dare you prefer your own people, your own country over strangers? It's just, I guess it goes hand in hand with trying to destroy the nuclear family, right? How dare you prefer your family members over complete strangers? But focusing on something so innocuous, so prevalent, basically every ideology before globalism had it normal to prefer your family over strangers and your people over other people, your country over other countries. It didn't mean you have to hate strangers or other countries, people of other nationalities. It just meant that you care more about your family and your country, that you are in their corner, that you are willing to go an extra mile for them. And such a normal thing was demonized, and basically they used our aversion to what they've done in the past against us to make us distance ourselves from our own beliefs. Meanwhile, they go on unimpeded to once again implement the exact same policies. In my opinion, it's more than... I know V talked about how in Romania both communism, I believe, fascism, and even the 1930s Germans, they're all banned ideologies. I think that eugenics in general should be banned. Anyone who believes that we should call humanity in order to advance the species, yeah, who are you to decide who lives or dies? It's an insane and totalitarian ideology that takes away not only your autonomy in your life in some cases, but also people's hope. Basically, people won't bother struggling for something better. They won't bother creating, working, essentially being productive, if they're in constant fear that at any point they can be deemed unfit for survival for any reason, and just hold off, to the eugenicist. It's very, very basic. People must have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Basically, the ability to maintain their health, the fruits of their own labor, and the ability to choose how and what to do to work. Obviously, they will be constrained by reality. If you, for example, want to go and play guitar professionally and you're not good enough that people will, pay for it, then you probably will have to change your job or have nothing to eat. But on the other hand, nobody's going to go and ban you from playing guitar for a living just because they don't think that it's contributing to society enough or whatever. It's going to be up to the market to decide these things, and that's how you get capitalism, that's how you get prosperity, that's how you get success. Basically, every successful civilization allowed people to trade freely, more or less. There are always some constraints, but yeah, in my opinion, they should be minimized. Eugenicists are just some of the sickest and worst people in existence, and you can see by just how deranged this guy is. Just nuclear war is good. Every single sentence in that article is just, it's a parody of what you'd expect from a bad guy. Not even a Bond villain would speak this way. It's just so over the top evil and stupid. I mean, does anyone truly believe that any of his predictions hold water? That a nuclear war is going to cause evolution or make people produce artificial intelligence and advanced robots? Hell, even saying when it happens we'll have no more reasons to whine. I'm sorry, but if something like that were to ever happen anywhere, you can bet that people will be whining a whole lot, because they'll be so in despair and so helpless and feeling so hard done by, and very correctly too, that yeah, it will be a very natural reaction to whine. But I suppose that makes them weakling by this guy. I honestly wonder what kind of person joins this group. What kind of person listens to this interview and goes, "That's my leader. He represented us so well. This is exactly what I believe." What kind of person says that? What kind of person thinks that? I mean, it's such an alien mindset. I can't begin to visualize, to imagine the way this person must think. And to think that there's a large enough group that they would reach, headline news. And the funniest thing is that things like this can be put on YouTube. Like the Azov Battalion can have an official channel, but there's so many words I'm restricted from saying, even to criticize. It's truly a clown world right here. Thanks for watching, joining me on this trip to Clown World. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.